take up that'll take a good part of the meeting. And then we'll have short presentations on Measure A and Prop 50. And then we will go to the final part of the meeting, which is discussion and voting, voting on those, the measure, the proposition, and of course, the main thing will be the assessor race. So, if there aren't any urgent announcements, and I don't think there are, why don't we get started on the assessor race now. Well, let me get Martin up here to explain the process.
Okay. We will be interviewing okay, so what's going to happen is we will be interviewing our candidates for assessor. They will all be asked the same questions. They'll have a 1-minute opening statement, a 2-minute closing statement, and then they will be giving 3-minute answers to 4 questions. That after all the candidates will be interviewed individually. They will not be present to hear, will not be present for each other's answers. Following all of the interviews, we will have a discussion amongst club members about the candidates. That discussion, that's a closed session, that's club members only. The interviews are otherwise open to the public. Following that, we will conduct a first ballot on voting for the candidates. You need a candidate needs 60% for endorsement. If nobody gets 60%, then we will eliminate down to 2 candidates, and if at that stage nobody gets 60%, then we'll vote on whether or not to do a dual endorsement. So I would also advise that in general, we would request that you don't vote until you have a chance to hear from all of the candidates. Under our rules, balloting is in fact open at the start of the meeting. There are in the link, I guess the link may or may not be being shared on the Zoom. I can't see into the Zoom right now, but there are QR codes scattered around on the tables in this room. So if you want to, you can scan the QR codes and that'll get you to the first ballot, which is open. But again, we ask that you hear the candidates out before you go we hear the candidates out and then you hear our discussion out before you go and vote. But if you have to leave early or something, you can vote now.
All right, thanks, Martin. Before we start, I want to acknowledge the elected officials in the room. Mayor Klein is here, who just hosted a fabulous State of the City, probably the best one I've ever attended this morning. And Vice Mayor Linda Sell is here, and that may be everybody in the room.
Well, he's not an elected official, but Sunnyvale distinguished resident Mike Cerrone is the one who just got finished speaking to you.
Thank you. Councilmember Charles E. Chang is online, and Councilmember Murli Srinivasan. Probably missing some here, but and Sylvia Leong with Cupertino Union School District. I'm seeing Patrick Ahrens on here, so Assemblymember Patrick Ahrens, or his avatar, I'm not sure. So let's go ahead and get started with the assessor race. And Martin, remind me again who was first? Neysa. Is Neysa here? Neysa? She was here. So for this, we do ask the other candidates. Let's see, we need, can everybody in the room turn off their audio on their computers or cell phones? Okay. Otherwise we get feedback. So is Neysa here? She was just here. So again, we ask for the other candidates and any paid staff to leave the room while we conduct each interview individually. And as Martin said, we will ask the same questions of each candidate. Here we go. Have a seat. Thank you. And one of these microphones should work. Let's see if that's possible. Okay, okay. All right. You will have a 1-minute opening statement, a 2-minute closing statement, and 3 minutes per question, and there are 4 questions. And I'm guessing Martin is going to time that. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome. So let's go ahead and start. You can start with your 1-minute opening statement and introduce yourself.
Thank you. And hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Neysa Fligor, and I'm running for County Assessor. I am here seeking your endorsement because I value and appreciate the work you do as a club. That's why I made sure I finished that questionnaire. And I'm running for County Assessor because I do believe I'm the best candidate based on my experience, leadership, management, acumen, and qualifications. I bring stability to the office. I'm currently the Assistant Assessor. Previous to that, I was the Special Assistant to the Assessor and also the Attorney for the office. And I also bring vision and innovation to the office, as I've already started innovating the office with moving us off the decades-old COBOL system. I'm proud to have the endorsement of everybody laughs at that. I'm proud to have the endorsement of former Assessor Larry Stone, also former Mayor of Sunnyvale, and also your entire Sunnyvale City Council, Mayor Klein, and everyone else who represents this great city. Thank you.
All right. The first question, and by the way, I actually programmed in COBOL many years ago. And you partly answered this, but why do you want to be the assessor? Why do you believe what do you believe is the most important quality, talent, or experience that you will bring to the job as the assessor? And why is that quality, talent, or experience important?
Thank you. I'm running to be assessor because I want to make sure the assessor's office continues to work for the residents and the community. And to do that, we need to make sure that the assessor's office is well governed and well managed. We have a lot of priorities in our office right now. Of course, the first is the state mandated requirement of closing the roll. We're also implementing the solution I mentioned. And of course, we have our assessment appeals. And to lead those efforts in the office, we need to make sure we have the right candidate with the experience, qualifications, and leadership and acumen that I've already mentioned. I want to start out with the technology, or number 2 priority in the office. This is something that our office has been trying to do for almost 20 years. Larry will tell you the story of many starts and stops, and it just never moved forward. I was brought in last year And I didn't skip a beat. I was given a team of 42, and we got to work immediately, and we were able to do demo sessions, interview vendors, do research, and pick a vendor and have a contract signed on time and under budget, and this will move us forward as an office. So when I think about what's important in the assessor's office is make sure someone understands the office, the work we do. Doing the appraisal work is only a portion of what we do in the assessor's office. We do audits, we do appraisals, we do assessments, and we have customer service, public service units, and many other things that people don't hear about. And being the assistant assessor and someone who's been in the office, that uniquely qualifies me because I know the team and I know the work. And I do have the endorsement, the sole endorsement of SEIU, which makes up 85% of our employees in the office. I'm also the only candidate with the legally required certification to be a California assessor on day one. This is not a real estate license. It's not a real estate broker's license. I have that. It has expired. I didn't renew it, but it's more complex than this. This requires experience in the office, knowing the work, and also taking a very comprehensive exam, and that I've done. I've also held leadership positions regionally. Larry Klein, the mayor's here. He and I served together on the Cities Association of Santa Clara County. I was president. And that's the kind of leadership where I collaborate and work across the region that I represent and will continue to do as your assessor. In addition to that, I have served on the El Camino Healthcare District Board as well, which is our regional body. So again, when you look at an assessor, you want to make sure that it's someone who will be able to govern that office well. The work we do in the assessor's office is so important. The revenue generated for our work goes to cities, schools, the county, and we need to make sure that the person who's doing that job knows the job. And again, I'm the only candidate who has that experience. Just thinking of the county and what we're going through right now with budget uncertainties, we cannot risk having someone who doesn't understand the office or has the qualifications to lead such an important office.
Thank you. What are the three most important issues or challenges that will face the assessor's office this year and in the foreseeable future? How would you address these challenges or issues if you are the elected assessor?
Thank you. And I'm already addressing them because I'm not someone who sits still. If there's a challenge to address, I raise my hand and I get started. So as I mentioned, there are three main priorities in our office currently. It's meeting our state mandate of closing that role so we can generate that revenue to fund schools, cities, and the county. 38% of the county's discretionary general fund revenue comes from the work we do, and that's how important our office is. So the first thing is to make sure that we close that role every year on time so we're not penalized, and so we can get the revenue dollars to the different jurisdictions that need it. The second priority in our office is moving forward with implementing this new technology solution. We signed the contract in June. We immediately got started with the implementation work. We're starting the data conversion and working with our different divisions to pull the data we need to move the implementation forward. That is the second priority in our office. And then the third priority in our office is our appeals process. I mentioned that I was the attorney for the office a few years ago. So I was fighting appeals, and Larry Stone will tell you I have a 100% success rate defending those appeals. The appeals process is the third priority in our office because, as you can imagine, we need to make sure that we're resolving those so we can get the revenue dollars to the constituents and the recipient jurisdictions, but also for the appellants who actually prevail in those appeals. This will expedite their processes as well, because when the county loses, then we do return the dollars to them, and so they can also move forward. And so it's a win-win when we're able to move through the appeals process more efficiently and expeditiously. So those are the three priorities currently in our office. I've already started working on them, as I mentioned, but I also want to highlight the fact that we're doing more community engagement. You know, I remember last year when I rejoined the office, I was tell people I work in the assessor's office, and they're like, what does the assessor's office do? And so that's something that we've already started, and I plan to continue doing, because by increasing community engagement and educating residents about what we do and the programs and services that we have that can actually save them money and time, and they should take advantage of it, is so important to our office and to me as a person, as a public servant, wanting to make sure that we are working for residents, we're working for the community, and they know about these services. And then supporting staff. Again, I mentioned I have the endorsement of SEIU, and I also have the endorsement of South Bay Labor Council. And that's because they recognize that I support the same values of supporting working families. And so I'm excited to have the endorsement of, 85%, as I said, of our employees are from the SEIU local chapter. And so those are the priorities in our office. We're focused on them. As you know, the county is going through a budget crisis right now. And all these priorities I mentioned will require resources. And so as the assistant assessor right now, and hopefully future assessor, I'll be watching that closely to make sure we have enough resources to support these priorities.
All right, that leads right into the next question. Do you believe the assessor's office currently has sufficient staff and other resources to best perform the functions of assessor for the county, its citizens, and property owners? If not, what additional staff or other resources do you think are necessary to attain that goal?
Thanks for that question. And being assistant assessor, I have firsthand knowledge of what's going on in the office. So I've already started a lot of this work, and we'll be able to continue to hit the ground running to address this issue. So right now in the office, with the 3 big priorities I mentioned, I would describe our resources as lean. We do have, we're not fully coded, so we do have vacant codes that we're actively trying to fill right now. And in the county, as you can imagine, there's additional steps to the process of filling these codes. And so we're trying to fill as many codes as possible, knowing that we have these 3 priorities. So our current staff is very lean. As we move forward with more implementation work, we would love to get more of our resource code positions filled. As I look ahead with the implementation of the new modern technology solution, I do think that will help us to streamline and make our processes more efficient. And the timeline for that right now is go live in 2 years, so 2027. One of the things I come into the office, and I think they will tell you themselves that's different from previous management, is I'm very accessible. I have an open door policy. I actually walk around, I sit next to folks, talk to them. I'm definitely not a top-down manager, and I will plan to be that as an assessor. And so I expect to be talking with the employees in our office to balance concerns and needs, because if there's something as an assessor that we're not identifying, if there's a deficit in our resource support, if we need to backfill resources and we don't get backlog and don't run behind in processing the role, that's something that I plan to learn about early and quickly so that we can address it. So to sum up my answer, I think right now we want to fill the codes that are currently vacant. And if we're not able to do it because of the budget crisis that county's in right now, then we'll make do with the resources we have, fully aware of the potential negative impacts. One thing I also want to mention is about my governance experience. I mentioned being a regional leader, president of the Cities Association of Clara County. I was also president of the Cal Cities, which is a statewide organization for all the city councils. So I was the president of the Peninsula Division Board, which consists of San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara. And I mentioned these regional leadership roles to demonstrate the difference between myself and the other candidates, where I don't just hold a title as city council member. I seek opportunities where I can get back and lead and make a difference. And I led a mental health awareness initiative along with Mayor Klein and others on the Cities Association. Also, the Cities Association had been trying for years to transition to being a joint powers authority. And part of the team that was finally able to move us. And those are the things I plan to do as the next assessor. Look for opportunities and challenges to make our office better.
And the final question, how would you as assessor find the proper balance between treating all taxpayers fairly and raising as much revenue as legally possible from real estate taxes? Do you think everyone in the county is paying their fair share of property taxes? If you could explain your answer.
Thank you. And I'll start out. Sorry about that. I'll start out by briefly describing the assessor's office and our role, because it is an elected position, but it's not the typical elected position that I think most people are familiar with. We're not a policy-making body. We don't make ordinances or laws. we're political in the sense that it does take an election for us to become assessor, but the work we do is actually managing this assessment process that I have described. And so when I hear about what can we do, if anything, to move the revenue either up or down, or response to that is we're there to implement and enforce the laws. We do not make laws. And so whatever the laws require us to do, and we like to say, even if we don't like the laws, we implement and enforce them. And so when we have our professionals in the office conduct their assessments, audits, or appraisals, or they process the deeds and the work behind change of ownerships and transfer from, intergenerational transfers, they're all complying with the laws. And so if by doing the work and complying with the laws, the revenue goes up, that's the result of good work. If we do our work and the revenue goes down, that's doing our work. And that's what we will continue to do in the assessor's office. We do not influence whether or not the revenue dollars go up or down. I will tell you, though, one of the things as assessor I will continue to do is to make sure that our residents know about exemptions and exceptions. And these are already allowed under the law, from Proposition 19 to homeowners exemptions, to welfare exemptions, the disaster wildfire program that we have. These are ways for taxpayers to actually save money legally. And I want to make sure that residents, taxpayers are aware of them so that they can take advantage of these programs and services. But you did touch on this tug of war or this conflict where, on the one hand, people will think, is there a way in the assessor's office to grant more exemptions or exceptions so that taxpayers don't have to pay as much for property taxes, versus are there ways to increase revenue dollars so that we have more revenues, again, to go to the different jurisdictions I mentioned? Any such changes would have to be made at the state level. We have 58 counties in California, and we're all governed by the same state law. So if someone, for example, were to say that, they could exempt seniors from paying property taxes, as an individual assessor here in Santa Clara County, he or she could not do that. And again, this goes back to making sure people really understand what we do in the assessor's office and what we have authority to do. But we will just continue to be professionals, comply with the law, and do our best. If there are programs to help taxpayers, we want to do it. If we can serve them better, we want to do it. Our customer service rating right now is 92% positive. Thank you.
All right, and now you have a 2-minute closing statement.
That went quick. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Based on, as I've said, and I will keep saying it because it really distinguishes me from the other candidates for this office that I know you all appreciate is so important. And we want to make sure that we have the right person leading that office, not for 30 years, as long as Larry served, but for a long time to come. I like to describe myself and compare myself to the other candidates in the race, because I do think it's important as folks try to figure out, why should I vote for this person over another person? I put the 3 other candidates in one bucket where they're all doing one of 3 things. They're saying they're going to do things in the office that I am already doing. They're saying they're going to fix things in the office that aren't broken. And they're saying they're going to do things that an assessor doesn't have the authority to do. And that demonstrates many things, including the fact that they don't know our office, they don't know the team, they're not ready to lead our important office of the assessor that I know you all care about. On day 1, I'll be ready to go, and having the endorsement of South Bay Labor Council and the Sunnyvale City Council, in addition to Congressman Sam Liccardo and many others, these people have seen my work over the years. By the time they were endorsing, they knew who else was in the race, and they picked me as the candidate they wanted to endorse. And they've seen my leadership as well. And so I am very, very excited to be the next assessor. Thank you all so much for being here. I know I met a few of you at your summer picnic. I'm glad I was able to stop by. But thank you again, and I hope I get your sole endorsement. It would mean a lot to have the SunnyvaleDems solely endorse me today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for participating today. All right, well, our next candidate is Rishi Kumar. Is Rishi here? Right, right. Or we can check the, or online.
Yeah, I will note that he did, well, he did respond to my initial comment about when the endorsement meeting was and that he was interested in pursuing our endorsement process. He didn't respond to my subsequent email that was, here are the questions, here's the questionnaires, please confirm that you're coming. So I will just throw that out there.
Okay, well, we'll, so we're, I guess we're trying to contact Rishi Kumar and see if he's planning to attend. If not, we will go to Yan Zhao, possibly a little early. Just checking online. Well, I mean, I noticed that briefly Councilmember Eileen Lay joined the meeting, but I'm guessing she's occupied with some other things right now. So
Yeah, I'd like to ask unanimous consent that the club send its congratulations to Eileen Lay on the birth of her third child.
Woo! I go with that.
Yeah, I'd be fine proceeding with Yan's interview, although I told Yan that she didn't have to be back until 2:50, so she may not. Yeah, I will see if she's outside, but again, but I would say for the information of everybody that if she's not outside yet, I told her she didn't have to be back until 2:50, so that should not be taken as a as a negative.
while we're doing that, I don't know if we have any other announcements.
Sunnyvale's having its pro ride on the 26th of October.
All right. And I guess,
Fifth annual pro ride. Come and join the call cause.
okay. Great, okay. Luckily, the mayor is here with a lot of announcements.
Yes, I'm always ready to announce some of the upcoming events. So on October 4th is the 75th anniversary of our Department of Public Safety. So there'll be a community day at the Department of Public Safety building, tours of the building, walk, basically climb on the fire trucks and the SWAT truck and all that. So you can come by, I think it's 10:30 to noon or 10:30 to 1 on the October 4th. On October 5th is Diwali, downtown Sunnyvale from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Times may vary. And that's happening on Murphy Avenue as part of City Line. And then on October 11th, actually on October 1st is Coffee with a Cop at the Starbucks at Fremont and Mary. And then on October 11th is the pancake breakfast at Fire Station number 2, happening from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So and that's a fire station right across from Lowe's. So those are just a few of the events. Thank you.
All right, very good.
So the Fire Pancake Breakfast is something that we do every year to raise funds for the Anna Rush Burn Foundation. And so ultimately it's you pay for breakfast, and so all the proceeds go to towards that foundation. There's also rides on the fire engines or fire if you're so inclined. The lines become very long, so if you're going to be there early. I don't remember. Sorry. I think it's kind of a donation. I think it's $10 a person or something of that nature. But the officers, our public safety officers, are making the pancakes and grilling up the sausages and serving up coffee, milk, and orange juice for those that are there. Yes.
Absolutely. Margaret Lawson is reminding me that on October 18th is the next No Kings March, or not march, but protest, which I assume will be on El Camino again. We'll have more details going forward, but I'm going to imagine it's similar to what we've done in the past. Maybe they'll have a new wrinkle to it. Okay, expand even more. All right. Yeah, have a seat. And Tim, you have your hand raised.
One quick announcement. Free secure valet bike parking at the Sunnyvale Farmers Market from now until November 8th. I was there. They've got lots of space. Just roll your bike in and nothing can get stolen off your bike.
Okay, great. Thank you. And there we go. All right, so, this microphone should work. And welcome, Zan. I'm glad you were able to come a few minutes early. As you know, our format is you will have 4 questions, 3 minutes to respond. You'll have a 1-minute opening statement and a 2-minute closing statement. And again, we ask all the candidates the same questions. Well, let's get started. You start with a 1-minute opening statement to introduce yourself.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yan Zhao. I'm running for County Assessor. I decided to run 2 years ago because I know this office is such an important office and touches our lives every day, from public schools to public safety. And I have lived in this county for 34 years, and yet this office is still using a 40+ years old system. My vision is to bring this office to the 21st century, modernize outdated systems, improve customer service, and make this office more, excuse me, more efficient, accessible, and transparent for everyone. I bring a unique qualifications to this office as a computer engineer. I have worked in the industry and I know how to use technology to make a service more efficient and less costly. And also as a long-term public servant, I have always led our office with transparency, accountability, and the result. And also as the state licensed appraiser, I have actually hands-on experience appraising homes in the field. So I know how the houses are accessed. And so I know how to lead this office in the day one. So thank you.
Thank you. So the first question, why do you want to be the assessor? And what do you believe is the most important quality, talent, or experience you will bring to the job as the assessor? And why is that quality, talent, or experience important?
Thank you. I mentioned about, this is such an important office. It funds everything from public schools to public safety. It's important that the people get the service. So the most qualification I just mentioned earlier is, my engineering computer background, because I know how to bring that to the government to make the service more efficient and make more transparent. And also it's important that our office service people with accountability, with fairness, with accuracy. So this is a very important serve as a county assessor. And as mentioned, as a long-term public servant, I have served on the city council for 7 years and a 2-term mayor. So I have the leadership that's needed to lead this office, and also work in industry for 30 years. And I was VP, so I have done system upgrading, I have done software integration. So I know this is a part of the plan I want to do, to integrate to make this office more efficient by bringing new software system. I have done that in my professional life, so I'm the most qualified. And also I mentioned about I have obtained a state issued appraiser's license. This is by Bureau of Real Estate Appraisers, that I have worked in the field. I know how houses are assessed, how appraised. So when I come to this office, I know how to lead this office with confidence, with knowledge and experience.
Thank you. Second question, what are the 3 most important issues or challenges that will face the assessor's office this year and in the foreseeable future? How would you address these challenges or issues if you are the elected assessor?
One of the challenges I talk about is technology upgrading. But besides that, I think, investing in people as well. So as the county continues to grow, and it's getting more complicated and complex, so we need a well-trained and appraisers, auditors, and IT, and to keep up with the work this office is going to be doing. And secondly, and I believe it's time to establish more of educational outreach programs, so workshops, so people understand what this office does and what services and programs are available to people. And lastly, I think it's important that we treat each single resident as customer. So you have a sense of urgency, and then you want to make sure that they get the service they need, and in a more costly and effective manner.
Thank you. The third question, do you believe the assessor's office currently has sufficient staff and other resources to best perform the functions of assessor for the county, its citizens, and property owners? If not, what additional staff or other resources do you think are necessary to attain that goal?
As our county continues to grow, and we need a well-trained staff to keep up with the complex processing. So it's important that we have sufficient staff to do the job. And also, I think it's important to provide all the trainings to all the staff, and so they have an opportunity to grow and to better serve our community. And another important challenge I see that we need to address, as I mentioned earlier, there's so many new different property tax laws and regulations not everybody very familiar with, and we definitely want to do outreach program especially in different languages. For me, as a first generation immigrant, when I came to this country, I didn't speak a word of English, and because the education system here that really helped me to, to be where I am today through community college and with a degree with electrical engineering, computer science from Berkeley. So I definitely want to give back. I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to succeed in their life by, having, everybody, this office is important to provide accurate, fair, and assessment to all the properties. And so the families in the county can get the education and the service they need.
All right. And the final question, how would you as assessor find the proper balance between treating all taxpayers fairly and raising as much revenue as legally possible from real estate taxes? Do you think everyone in the county is paying their fair share of property taxes? And explain your answer.
Assessor's office job is not to raise taxes, it's not to raise revenues. Important job is to do a fair and accurate assessment in a timely manner and be consistent so everybody is treated equally and equitably. So I don't think it's the assessor's job to assessor needs to apply all the laws to all the property tax assessment. And yes, there's complex cases, especially for commercial cases, for new transactions and changes. That's why it's more important to have all the staff are well trained, have very updated system. If there's a discrepancies, can be resolved quickly and to be efficient, and so that people get the service they need and get the government get the property tax that collect everything its own to this office, so that we have the fund needed for all the services that we rely on every day.
All right. And so now you have a 2-minute closing statement.
Once again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Many people ask me, is there any technical requirement to run for this office? The truth is no. Anybody can run for this office. Once you are elected as an assessor, you have 1 year to take a class and pass exam, and you can serve as an assessor. I have done that. I have taken that class and passed exam. So once I'm elected, I can serve as assessor on day 1. Beyond that, I have done more than that. I have taken 167 units and worked in the fields. I appraised almost 100 homes, so I know how properties are assessed. And so this kind of experience, this is a hands-on experience. So I know when you talk about fair consistency, I know what that meant. So definitely with my background in engineering, because we talk about important upgrading this to the 21st century, especially software integration is not something you can be done overnight. It takes a teamwork effort, and I have that experience. I have done that in my professional life. So I am the best qualified, and because all the things I have said, as a long-term public servant, 20 years, 8 years on the Planning Commission, and 7 years on the City Council, and 9 years on the Commission on the Status Women. I have always fought for equity and justice. I have organized Stop Asian Hate. I have marched for women's rights. I will continue to fight for our family rights to make sure that each family and all the business and the community get their fair share. So I'm so honored to be endorsed by many elected officials, including Congressman Rokana, Assembly Member Patrick Aarons, our board supervisors, Alto Lee, as well as Margaret Apicoga, and many council members and school board members. So it will be my great honor to receive your endorsement as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for participating today. All right, we're just a little bit ahead of schedule because we did start late. So we can go ahead and talk about Prop 50, although Ambrosia, were you going to talk about the what the county assessor does? Well, that's fine, yeah. So before we have our discussion later, that would be
I don't have my notes, but I was going to mention the county assessor's office. There does seem to be a lot of confusion around it. It seems to maybe be clarified by the two candidates that we heard from, but it's very specific. They enforce the law. They don't create the law. So they're just assessing the property. If you imagine like the county as a map, they're looking on the map, assessing all the different properties. And as properties change hands, assessing those properties. So they're not doing anything else. If we're wanting to have something like Prop 13, if we're wanting to do something with seniors, those are all laws that are happening in Sacramento. I think those were like the main takeaways. I did include on our website with the information for this meeting, a link to what does the county assessor office do, where you can read. They actually have this information because it is a confused position where people are upset about their tax bill and they want to talk to somebody about it. And they're like very clearly FAQ, this is what we do and this is what we don't do. Gail? So Gail was asking, do they have a team of people that go out and look at properties? I assume so. I don't actually know. Wasn't on the FAQ. That's their job, is to assess the properties. Where they get that information, I'm not sure. And I think that's some of kind of what was referred to, like if you have a problem or if you disagree with your assessment of your property, that whole process of asking for it to be reassessed. So yeah, they must, right? I don't know if they contract with somebody, but you can have your property assessed by the county. Yeah. I hope that's helpful. I really love this meeting today because this is an area that I wasn't very knowledgeable about. And I feel like this is something that the club really does well, is provide this opportunity for education. So thanks, Mike.
thank you. So yes, Gail. All right. You couldn't hear the comment, but Gail is concerned that if they have a team that is, if the assessor has a team that is assessing property values, that that's potential for corruption. But of course, people could directly bribe the assessor too, you know, cut off the middleman. But I'm sure that's a possibility.
I just wanted to say that if anybody has ideas for questions that we should be asking candidates for any office, just always, feel free to contact the board, et cetera, and we will take that under advice when we're crafting the next round of questions. And the great thing about assessor is that it's on a, is that if it's a contested, is that if it's contested in, if it's contested in 2026, we'll be able to turn around and have another assessor election again and get to ask any questions we forgot the last time.
All right.
Thank you, Guy Johnson, local 1782 IM Southwest Airlines, San Jose Airport. It's my understanding that the candidates were asked to submit a questionnaire packet before the board. Was that true?
Yes.
And can you clarify that all the candidates turn in packets?
So I'll clarify what happened because
Thank you.
So Neysa turned in the questionnaire. Yan told me that her previous email account was actually hacked, so she didn't receive the email that contained the written questionnaire, so that's why we did not get one from her. I'm not sure how I would be able to verify that without being a Gmail engineer.
So the link to Neysa's responses is on our website, SunnyvaleDems.org. So, all right.
The other thing I will just say is also this is a conversation I had at the beginning of the meeting. I have frankly not had time to do any further research because it was an hour ago.
All right, well, we can move to the next topic, which is Measure A. I see we have Supervisor or President Otto Lee, our own supervisor for this district here, and Wendy Ho is online. So yeah. Have a seat. Have a seat.
Oh, congratulations to our distinguished president of the year. Right here.
Mike, Otto may be able to answer the question that we had about how is it appraised and whether or not you can bribe the appraiser, and does that through the assessor's office? Can you answer that?
I can always answer. I'm not sure it's true or accurate, but I can always answer. No, the assessment that we have right now, because of Prop 13, actually makes it really easy. Meaning that whatever your old assessment value is, and of course a lot of our values have gone up so much in the last few years or decades, the most they could raise it is only 2%. So the assessed value of it actually cannot increase much because of Prop 13. However, the only time you really get a real accurate assessment these days because of Prop 13 is when you have a change of ownership of a piece of property, whether it's commercial property or residential, and that's usually based on the actual sale price, right? Because that's what sale price is. Well, very likely that would be what the fair market value is at that time. I think that's, and the way we pay our taxes, I believe is about 1.2% or so of the property tax is what you pay for. Of course, it goes all the way to the state, the county, the local cities, and water district, and this assessment, that assessment, right? So that's how the property tax has been broken down. As far as able to bribe somebody to get a low assessment, that's going to be very, very difficult because, like I said, you have that 2% raises that everybody would have to basically get because of the fact that our property price is much higher than what the true fair market value is because of Prop 13. Now, there's also somebody who asked me, like, how about can the assessor just go ahead and waive property tax for senior citizens? Because I think that was an issue that came up that one of the assessor candidates talked about. We want to waive all the, well, I'm going to be a senior citizen pretty soon. That sounds like a great idea, but I tell you, no, it doesn't work that way. First of all, assessor does not collect. That's a different job, right? There's a tax collector is actually a county employee to collect the property tax. So when you send a check in to the assessor, Larry Stone actually doesn't take that money, or the assessor doesn't take money. The assessor only does is evaluate the value of the piece of property and send out this report, and you get this card, every year. It's like, okay, you gotta pay your taxes, this is your new value. That's all the assessor does in terms of the actual collecting money, and then afterwards the money being distributed to different entities. The assessor doesn't even touch that. Number one. Number two is, if you really would like to waive seniors from paying property tax, you would actually need state legislation. And actually, in this case, because of Prop 13, you actually need probably state proposition to pass. So that's something that, frankly, nobody could have the power to just say, that, okay, you're 65 or older, we like you, so you don't pay your taxes. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, let's move on to the main topic we're here to talk about, which is Measure A. I see Wendy's online, Otto.
Great.
Wendy, do you have some slides to share, or?
Yes, I do, Mike. If I could just be given share screen privileges, just a few slides.
So, Crystal, can you make her a co-host? Okay, should be able to do that now.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon, SunnyvaleDems. Some of you may know me by day. I serve as Supervisor Lee's Chief of Staff, but both he and I are here today in our capacity as super volunteers for the Measure A campaign, which will be on your ballots. Let's see, on the November 4th election, and I'm hoping folks can see my slides. Or yes?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So what is Measure A? Let me just advance the slides. So what is Measure A? It is a temporary 5-year, 5/8 cent sales tax projected to raise roughly $330 million annually, which will only take care of about a third of the $1 billion hole that the county will find itself in short order. It is really a local solution to our federal crisis. Supervisor Lee and his colleagues took matters into their own hands and said, hey, the feds with their HR 1, that bad budget bill, they're decimating our safety net system locally. And so this was the supervisor's best attempt at using are the tools at our disposal to try to recoup some of that money. And it really is here to protect our local safety net, as Supervisor Lee can talk about in a little bit more detail. All of that will be kept here locally. None of it's going to Washington, D.C. And then the Board of Supervisors will have a say on how that money will be allocated and spent. So how did we get here? Not surprisingly, HR 1 created a huge mess for us. It's triggered, of course, the deepest Medicaid cuts in all of our history. And you've heard me say it once, $1 billion with a B for a shortfall for the county of Santa Clara. In our county, about 1 in 4 residents relies on Medi-Cal or Medicaid. And then without that intervention, we're going to have to look at closing our hospitals, our clinics, and other essential services that our community relies on. So again, just to illustrate how these cuts are really impacting us locally. Again, the Santa Clara Valley healthcare system is the most extensive safety net system for our county. We operate 2 of the region's 3 trauma centers, one at Regional Medical Center and one at Valley Medical Center. The third is at Stanford. And as Supervisor Lee will be quick to tell you, we operate the only burn unit in the Bay Area. HR 1 takes $1 billion from our local healthcare system, which will undermine our public health system altogether. And if we have to close ERs, we're going to have to look at longer wait times, again, clinic closures, and of course, if we're going to have to delay care, we're going to look at worse health outcomes for all of us. What does that look like for the city of Sunnyvale in particular? 25,000 residents in the city of Sunnyvale rely on Medi-Cal for their healthcare access. 5,300 residents rely on CalFresh or food stamps for food assistance, and about almost half of all the trauma cases that are transported by ambulance are taken to one of our 4 county hospitals. And again, not surprisingly, about more than 23,000 residents receive care from Santa Clara Valley Health System, which includes 15 clinics and our 4 hospitals. You'll see the number of outpatient visits, hospital days, and all of that equates to. The Valley Health Center, Sunnyvale, which is the health clinic in Sunnyvale, we provide nearly 50,000 clinic visits for city residents per year. So why this matters to everyone? Again, this is going to impact all of us, regardless if you're a Kaiser patient, a Sutter Health patient, doesn't matter. If our public health system continues to be undermined in the way that HR 1 is threatening, we're going to look at longer wait times in the ER. We're going to look at people, our ERs being overwhelmed, our longer ambulance wait times. It's just going to be catastrophic for this local safety net. And it's a community-wide crisis. And, Supervisor, I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, so a couple of things about ER. First of all, Kaiser is ER, Sutter is ER, all the hospitals ER, so what's the difference? And I think a lot of people might not know the difference, is that if an ER has different capabilities, and when we use the term trauma center actually has 3 different levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 3 being the lowest, level 1 being the highest. So if you, lo and behold, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen to you, but if you got into some accident that you get really injured, or if you have fire where you get really, really burned, if they take you to Kaiser ER, they are not doing you any favor, because that ER cannot help you, fix you at the level that's needed. You need to go to what we call a trauma center. So right now, in terms of trauma center, there are only 2 for the county. We have a level 1 trauma center at Valley Medical Center, and trauma level 2, the one we just reopened in April at the Regional Medical Center on the northeast of our county. And those are the only ones that actually could serve these type of wounds. So regardless of what healthcare system you are, these are the places that could help you. Well, of course, we're concerned about is when we have less Medicaid reimbursement, that's what coming to this $1 billion a year deficit. We do not want to have to go and cut the type of services. I don't believe we will have to close an ER, but the fact that we have to reduce services like less number of beds, less number of nurses, less number of doctors on duty, of course, means less people could be served at any given time. And that, of course, would mean more waits of ambulances waiting outside the hospitals, right? Not able to unload the patients. And if that's the case, that whole chain effect would percolate through the whole county. So this is what we're talking about. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Supervisor. So as the Supervisor mentioned, if we're going to have to backfill our hospital and healthcare system with other dollars, if we don't get that infusion of cash, we're looking at other cuts to other core services and support programs that the county provides, whether that's, support programs and, shelter for the unhoused. If it's, looking at reducing the maintenance that we do at our beautiful county park system, there are going to be ripple effects throughout the county, and which would be absolutely devastating. So again, just to recap, the board, acting in a sense of urgency, did place this measure on the ballot for November 4th. Again, it's going to be a local option to address this federal problem that we've been given. And the ballot language does require strict independent audits to ensure that every dollar that is invested, again, that $330 million annually, will be spent here locally, and none of it will go back to Washington, D.C. to be mismanaged by the current administration. Again, just to wrap up, Measure A, temporary 5/8 cents sales tax, over 5 years, projected to raise $330 million annually to help support the county's ecosystem of services that benefit all of us. So with that, again, just to summarize, it's going to really protect our local safety net, and particularly our health and hospital system. It's going to help provide and protect care for our seniors, disabled residents and working families in other vulnerable communities. And it gives us the opportunity to give us that local control to stand up for our community. And with that, I think the supervisor and I are prepared to answer any questions that the club members may have.
See his hand up there? Hey, Tara.
Do we really need to protect our funds from the federal government if we take it out of if we make a sales tax?
Okay.
Does that really need oversight to make sure that the feds don't come in and take it?
Well, I think it's another way to look at it, which is how much more would they take from us besides this, right? Because Medicaid is only one of many things they could cut. They could cut Medi-Cal. They haven't touched it yet, but certainly that's something they have discussed extensively. And thank you for many of our advocacy groups, like don't you dare touch Medi-Cal, for example, right? That at least that one's not being affected, at least as of yet. But SNAP, they certainly go in and snap it out real fast for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, right? For Department of Agriculture, a lot of farmers actually rely on those type of funds to buy those food items. So the federal, I mean, look, California, we all know this, we are what we call donor state, right? Donor state meaning what? Every dollar we give, we don't get back even 50 cents from the federal government, right? Why? All those other funds that the federal government receive goes to help many of the smaller states that don't have the type of revenue. And I get that, right? We understand that we are, but what they are doing right now is they're even taking more funds away from us, right? Shortchanging us. Now, some would argue, hey, they're giving us no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and all those tax breaks for those who have been paying too much taxes. Well, who are we talking about? There are also people here too. You have your Larry Ellison, you have your Musk. These are not the richest people, period. These are richest people in the planet's history, this Earth's history. Nobody has ever this much money in our entire history of our thousands of years of how much wealth we're talking about. That's so concentrated. So yeah, some of those guys are getting literally $1 billion refund off this bill, but at the expense of what, right? This is what we're looking at.
Okay, so as I understand it, the money for this would go into the general fund.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, and this is kind of complicated. How are you going to figure out who gets the money? And then how the heck are you going to audit it?
Mhm.
And then how the heck is it going to be accountable to the people that are paying the
Okay,
taxes?
so a lot of people have concerns, and there's absolutely great question. Why general fund? Why don't you put it like directly saying to health and hospital, the hospital system, right? A couple of things. Number one is, thanks to our Republicans we have in the legislature, they passed a law way back that basically says that if you increase taxes, right? If you're going to increase taxes, if the money is going to be for a specific purpose, like for school renovation, right, for hospital, you need to have a 2/3 majority to pass, right? That's a very much Republican thing to push through and pass. In order for it to be a 50%, which is what the bare majority is, it cannot be for a specific purpose, and that's why it's a general tax. Now, if we were trying to push this to the hospital only for 66.7%, first of all, I don't think we could even pass it because it's so hard these days, given the issue of the timing yet. But at the same time is what we know is majority of the funds will be going to the hospital for one simple reason. And you bear with me, this is a little bit tough on the numbers, but really isn't. When you say, wow, Santa Clara County, you've got a huge budget, 13.6 billion, you have all that money, why do you need more money from us, right? The reason the budget is so large is because we have not one, not two, but three. We have run and operate 4 hospitals now, right? 4 hospitals now. One question that's been posed when I was in Mopia is asked, just sell a hospital. Why not? Then that would save you some funds because running a hospital costs money. I said, yeah, you want to sell it. First of all, to sell anything, you need what? You need a buyer. Who is going to buy a money-losing hospital or any assets? Nobody would buy money-losing assets, right? Number one. And the reason why you know it's money losing is you look where we bought those other 3 hospitals from. The second and the third, it's called O'Connor in St. Louis, 6 years ago, those were purchased from bankruptcy. And how many bidders were there for those 2 hospitals? Anybody care to guess? 1. We're bidding against ourselves. Nobody else bidding. That was it. Right now, for the regional medical center, I said, well, we bought them. They were in bankruptcy. Maybe we could sell that one. Right? The land could be worth a lot before land development. You're absolutely right. If that regional medical center, if you get the whole place and use the land, they probably were a higher land value than what we pay for the whole thing. But the thing is, the regional medical center serves so many folks on Milpitas in the east side. That is their hospital, and that's our only other trauma level 2 hospital. So those are things that the county stepped in and purchased them, not because we want to, I said they will make more money. It actually is just to save the life of people, because our mission is not about making more profit, right? You can ask Larry. The city of Sunnyvale's goal is not to have better ROI investment. We are here to serve the citizens of residents of Sunnyvale, and same as in the county's perspective, right? We're trying to make sure people are healthy in our county. So our goal is very different from the for-profit hospital. So we actually bought Regional Medical Center from HCA, the Health Corporation of America, which hospital, but basically they are a for-profit hospital. If you're not making money, they're ready to sell it. So in that sense, we were fortunate that we bought from them. I just want to explain the deal to people. Like, what does that mean? You spend $150 million to buy a hospital. Well, HCA about 10 years ago, well, actually 8 years ago, spent about almost $400 million to do an earthquake retrofit of the regional medical center. And we only paying $150 for it. Just think about that. That tells you what type of a deal that we actually got in terms of, if we have to do this for O'Connor, for example, right now, which we do, that's multiple hundreds of $millions just to do the retrofit work, right? So I think we were very fortunate that we were able to buy the hospital, get it back up, get the trauma level 2 back. And since the day it opened, April 1st, we absolutely have saved many, many lives. As you know, if you have a stroke, you have a heart attack, every minute matter. If they have to be transported to another trauma level center, like Valley Medical Center, the extra 20 minutes, they might be flatlined by the time they get there. And that's just common sense, right? So we're very fortunate we're able to do that. Number one. Number two is is a roundabout way to answer your question. Our healthcare recovery of reimbursement is 88 cents to $1. Well, what does that mean? So when we spend $1 on every healthcare issues, we actually get back 88 cents. Some of them are like insurance payments, but most of it actually comes through our federal government on the Medi-Cal and Medicaid, Medicaid reimbursement coming back to us. So in other words, we really are only spending 12 cents of our county's funds to deliver $1 of service. Does that, are you following me? Which is a very, very good recovery. We're doing very good on that. But where does the 12 cents come from, right? The 12 cents is not a health and hospital fund that we dedicate. It's actually a general fund item where we use our general fund, right, the 12 cents, to make up the difference, to make it $1 to make the payment. So that's why that fund is coming from general fund already. So when we put on money in general fund, that is money that will go to health and hospital.
But how are you going to figure out who gets the money? Are you going to come up with some kind of
Well,
questionnaire?
yes, we're going to have an
and stuff?
oversight committee to.
And then what's the
explain
auditing behind
exactly.
that?
Well, what we are really trying to do is not really spend more money, right? What we're really trying to do here is, thank you, Larry. What we're trying to do here is lessen the hurt, mitigating the damage that we're going to suffer. Because we have to cut $1 billion. We're talking about $1,000 million a year, right? Where do we cut that from? If most of it's Medicaid, it will be coming from the hospitals in so many ways. So in that sense, by not, let's say if we are based on the numbers of $1 billion, if it means we have to cut 600 nurses, let's say you said the number, right? Use a round number. Say 600 nurses needs to be cut in order to make that budget cut for $1 billion a year. By having the extra 330 might mean that, by cut only half of that, because the other half will be able to fund it by the additional revenue we raise from this tax. So if we don't pass this thing, we are in big, big trouble. Even we pass these things, we're still in trouble because we still have to make those drastic cuts. The other question actually people ask me is like, why don't you just ask for more? Why only 5/8 cents? Why don't we go for 1% or 1.5% to make up the whole $1 billion that we lose? Anybody know the answer to that? Is because turns out we really do not have authority as a county, even with voter approval, to raise taxes whatever number we want. There's actually a cap. And in this case, the cap actually came from a legislation in Sacramento by Senator Cortese about 3 years ago. He actually requested, and the legislature has to pass to allow a local jurisdiction, in this case in Clara County, to raise up to 5/8 cents. So that's actually authority specifically provided by the state legislature to allow. So in this case, we had this authority for about 2 years now. But the last 2 years, we didn't immediately say, oh, let's go put it to the voter. We're like, look, yes, times is tough, but we could, find ways to cut this. So for the last 2 years, we did not do any of this. We figured if we could find ways, balance it, we could cut other things, and that's what we've been doing. So when people say, why don't you cut the fat? Well, that's exactly what I'm doing the last 2 years. But now suddenly you give me a HR 1 bill to say that now you have to lose another $1 billion. There's no way out. That's why we resort to this. In the back.
Thank you, Supervisor. This is really very interesting. Are we I assume all the counties in California have this healthcare responsibility. Are we the first ones that are going to be trying to fill that gap with a measure like Measure
We are
A?
one of the few first one, yes, definitely. Because if you recall, HR 1 was passed when?
Just in July 4th, what?
4th of July,
Yeah.
right? Yes, 4th of July. And let's face it, July is a lot of times the time off for a lot of government agencies, a lot of city council. Our county was actually at recess right then. And we actually have to call a special session on August 7th to put something on November ballot. August 8th was the freaking deadline. So I think frankly, many people or many organizations or government agencies weren't able to meet that deadline. But you miss on August 8th, you got to wait another year. So
I think it was
happened.
really brave of you guys to be able to do this. Thank you for doing that. And I hope other counties can learn from our example. And I hope everybody will support it. I'm really glad you spoke about it. Thank you.
Carrie, I didn't pay you to say this, but hey, but you know what? It's not just that, right? What our county has done, for example, when Trump got elected the day one, we immediately passed $5 million budget to help immigrant defense. We knew this was coming, right? And then after we did that, the state's doing it, other counties doing it, and they frankly use our referral, that what we put together to do their work. So a lot of times we are leading and we're honored to have the opportunity to lead sometimes, but yeah, this is a real crisis because right now, the other thing that's happening, if you start reading, not just California, many rural hospitals in many states are literally closing as we speak because of this very bill. And that's their only hospital for the whole area of hundreds of miles. So we are fortunate to have the type of resources that could do this. Many of those places just don't.
Right, thank
So
you.
let's
Councilman.
take one more question.
Guy Johnson, I
and
am local 1782 Southwest Alliance San Jose Airport. I support the measure, but I'm getting pushback from some people about the accountability for the funds.
Yes.
I think you kind of touched on that briefly, but can you elaborate on what accountability or checks and balances in place to make sure that if and when this measure passes, that those funds are actually funneled to where we say they're going to go? Thank
right,
you.
in the hospitals, yes. So there will be a oversight committee. So if you recall, back in 2016, there was another Measure A. Anybody remember that? Larry does, I know. Yes, $950 million for housing. Ding, ding, ding. And actually, that funds is almost exhausted by now. But the good news is a lot of really amazing buildings and housing units have been built. Actually, far more than the expected number of units that has been built with the Measure A. And they actually, at that point, also have a Measure A oversight committee to make sure the funds are spent, properly. And no different in this Measure A, there will be a Measure A oversight committee on this chunk of funds during this 5 years. And by the way, do you know why it's 5 years? We're hoping that that guy who created all this will be out also by then, and hopefully the rest of the country will have suffered enough to know that this was a dumb idea and put the funds back so we don't have to continue getting this money from sales tax.
Okay, so we wanted to quickly, because we do have, we can discuss this more on our, when we discuss this before we vote, but we wanted to talk about Prop 50 very quickly. And if I can figure out, do I have permission to share?
Is that the one that says instead of don't mess with Texas, Texas mess with us?
Yes, exactly, exactly. Oh, here we go. See if I can figure out how to get this going.
While you're thinking about this, I just want to share a story. I was at the DNC meeting about a month ago in Minneapolis and get to meet Gene Wu. Anybody knows who that name is? Gene Wu. He is the assembly member in Texas that led the way of getting them all, the Democratic assembly member that led the effort to move a lot of them over to Illinois and then all the different states to talk about this issue. Instead of just being a one state Texas issue, he made it into a national issue, right? I know he got a lot of like negative this and that. He was fined $500 a day for not being in Texas, and they have FBI chasing him to try to drag them back, literally arresting them, trying to drag them back to the state. It was awful, but through his effort, now this has become a national issue, and that's why New York, us, we are doing this. Thank you.
So quickly, there's just a couple slides here, but we wanted to touch on this because it's very timely. It's going to be on the ballot. As background, in 2010, California voters approved Prop 20, authorizing the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to draw congressional districts in 2010. But in 2019, our wonderful Supreme Court ruled that partisan gerrymandering claims were political questions beyond the reach of the federal courts. This made partisan gerrymandering the law of the land, so that state legislatures can draw lines to maximize congressional seats for their party. So the Supreme Court says, well, we can't touch this. It's a political thing. I don't agree with their decision, but this, so as a result, since that decision, partisan gerrymandering is the law of the land. So as a result of this ruling, states like California that employ independent redistricting will have fewer representatives that represent the majority party in their state. So, and then there's Texas. Historically, redistricting is done every 10 years after the new census as mandated by the Constitution. But this year, Trump asked the governor of Texas to redraw district lines to give him 5 more congressional seats. And of course, the Republican Texas legislature promptly complied, redrawing the district lines in the middle of the cycle. And other Republican states are doing the same, including my home state of Missouri, which is chopped up my hometown, Kansas City, into 3 different districts, so that each of those districts is overwhelmed by the suburban districts, and so they're trying to get Emmanuel Cleaver out of there. And other states are doing the same. Indiana, it sounds like, will probably do the same. So if the Democratic states do not respond, we will be handing the House of Representatives over to Trump for 2 more years. So what is... Right, exactly. Right. In Texas, they just did it. In California, we voters will be voting on this on the ballot. So what does Prop 50 do? It makes sure next year's midterm elections are conducted on a level playing field without an unfair advantage for Republicans. Prop 50 puts the power in the hands of the people of California to approve emergency congressional district maps. It's fair and proportional. It provides emergency maps only because the Republicans move forward with their power grab, and it's temporary. These maps expire in 2030. Prop 50 preserves California's award-winning redistricting reforms and reaffirms the California Redistricting Commission's authority to draw congressional districts after the next census. Note that, and I never see this in the campaigns, but Prop 50 does not impact the independent redistricting for state and county elections. So our assembly, our Senate, and county election will still be under the independent redistricting. Now, I don't want to confuse the issue, but personally, I would not make this permanent, but I would not make it temporary, but until the rest of the country changes. But anyway, that's not part of this. Use the microphone.
So the independent redistricting for the state legislature, for the state senate and the state assembly lines do not change. So that's still independent, number one. County is mentioned, but county, we actually draw our own lines. So for example, Clara County is actually currently right now is we really don't have independent, we have independent advisory group, but ultimately the vote is still taken by the supervisors, the 5 of us. Just to be clear, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So you can see this, some of the supporters here. There are a lot more supporters. When we were going to talk about this, I thought the League of Women Voters was opposing Prop 50, but they are not opposing it, and Common Cause also is not opposing it. They are not taking a position. So, and overwhelmingly the opponent is Charles Munger, a right-wing billionaire. You can see the description of him there. So, oh, well, he's a right-wing billionaire. Junior, okay. Well,
So Charles Munger Sr. is one who made the money, not the junior. The senior is actually the right-hand person of Warren Buffett. So as Warren Buffett being the Oracle of Omaha, I've made literally billions of dollars for so many people who support his company, Berkshire Hathaway. Charles Munger, of course, is also a billionaire, did very well. I thought he passed away recently, but his son now, of course, has the billions to quote play with. Charles Munger Jr. actually used to be a former chair of the Republican Party right here in Santa Clara County. He lives in our county, so that's why, yeah. So anyways, but he's the main person that is funding this statewide effort. If you recall, even before California decided to have this Prop 50, 2 mailers already hit a house. That tells you how much money is being put in by him on this.
okay, so today we're asking, in addition to Measure A, we're asking the Sunnyvale Democratic Club to endorse Prop 50. And and we are running a little late. I don't know if there are any quick questions, or I didn't realize Carrie Templeton would be here, who moderated an excellent webinar on this subject with Mark Berman earlier this year. I don't know if you have anything you quickly want to add, Carrie, but when that webinar is available, I recommend everybody to, and Mark Berman, who used to be our assembly member, is still, he's the head of the election commission, right? So it was an excellent discussion.
Thank you so much, Mike. I told Mike earlier, but I'll tell you all, you'll be able to see the discussion later if you want. We're going to share the video. Sorry, it's not available before your vote, but these are both the best, most tangible, immediate actions we can take against Trump and his executive overreach and his attempts to remove the power from our hands. By giving the power to maintain our hospitals and keep them open to our county leaders, that is so empowering for us and our community. And every day in the politics world, I'm hearing from people who want to know, what can I do? What can I do? I feel so powerless to this person in the executive seat. This is really powerful. Being able to challenge and push back. I know we all have opinions about whether or not we should overturn or change our districting boundaries, because we all worked so hard. I know many of us gave feedback and talked about what can we do to make sure this really represents us. But the bottom line is we have a president who is calling in favors to cronies to rig elections in other states that remove our voice from Congress. So if we don't fight back, we are going to let it happen. And it's really incredibly wonderful that our state is trying to get creative and look at ways we can legally fight back while still keeping the power in your ballot box. So I hope everybody will support it. Thank you.
Yeah, I also just wanted to note on the local level, the Prop 50 map doesn't affect the 17th congressional district. So from from a hyperlocal Sunnyvale perspective, it does not change how we are represented in Congress.
And we have, let's see, one more question from Martha. And while we're doing that, we can prepare for the vote, the discussion and vote. We will have to ask attendees who are not voting members to both leave the room and leave the online meeting, so you can start mentally preparing yourself for that while we hear Martha's question.
This is not a question. I just want to say that I have a lawn sign in favor of Prop 50, and I just got it last week. I ordered it 3 weeks ago, and it finally arrived. I'm all for it, and I think we have to fight fire with fire. The other thing I noticed is today I was going up to Los Altos, my son's house, and I was on El Camino and Castro. At El Camino and Castro, there was a group of about 5 people all holding yes on Prop 50 placards. And I was wondering why, maybe we should organize and do that also. I understand that no people have a lot of money too. No, they were yes on Prop 50. Yes on Prop 50. Yeah. So I was just wondering why we weren't there. So I didn't know about it. Otherwise, I would have been there. So. What? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are a number of ongoing demonstrations for various purposes, and Gateway Park is kind of
I
a central
understand
spot for that.
the other side has a lot of money too.
Absolutely, but
I've
it's
seen a lot of
all
ads.
Munger. It seems like.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen has his name on it. All right, well, let's prepare for our closed discussion. So if you are not a Thanks. Thanks, Carrie. So Crystal, are you taking a look at the and online you will need a PIN in order to vote on the assessor candidates. For the Measure A and Prop 50, we'll just go with a show of hands. But so if you don't have your PIN, Crystal, should they put it in the chat or directly message you in the chat? So we only have both online and in here.